What you just heard is one of the most extraordinary acoustic events in the natural world, a phenomena called the dawn chorus. Every spring morning, from roughly late March through late June, the birds of the Ozark Plateau perform a synchronized, escalating symphony that begins in darkness and peaks in the pale light just before sunrise. It's ancient, it's complex, and for most people who live alongside it, it's almost entirely invisible, or rather, inaudible, because they're asleep when it happens. In this video, we're going to change that. We'll explore why birds sing at dawn, which Ozark birds produce that chorus, and when they arrive in the season, how the chorus is structured across habitats, from the forest interior to the glade edge to the river corridor, and how to develop the listening and identification skills to parse what feels like a wall of sound into individual voices, stories, and ecological relationships. The Ozark Plateau is a remarkable place for bird study, and especially for spring bird song, for three interconnected reasons. First, the region sits at a biological crossroads. The Ozarks are where the eastern deciduous forest, the Great Plains grasslands, and the subtropical lowlands of the Mississippi alluvial valley converge. This means you can hear within a single morning in the Ozarks species whose nearest breeding relatives are in the Appalachians, the Texas Hill Country, and the boreal forest of Canada. Second, the topographic complexity of the plateau, the deep river valleys, the exposed south-facing glades, the cool, moist, north-facing hollows, creates a mosaic of microhabitats that supports an extraordinary diversity of breeding and migrating birds in a relatively compact geographic area. And third, the Ozarks lie along one of the most heavily traveled migration corridors in North America. The Mississippi Flyway and its tributaries funnel tens of millions of birds through this region every spring, and many of them stop, rest, and sing in Ozark forests and wetlands on their way to breeding grounds further north. By the end of this video, you'll be able to do 5 things. First, explain the ecological and physiological reasons birds sing at dawn, and why dawn specifically triggers the most intense singing behavior. Second, identify the major Ozark spring bird species by song, including residents, early migrants, and peak season neotropical migrants, and understand their arrival chronology. Third, describe how the Ozark Dawn Chorus is structured across space and time, including the sequence in which different species begin singing each morning. Fourth, analyze the conservation pressures facing Ozark breeding birds, including habitat fragmentation, nest parasitism by brown-headed cowbirds, and climate-driven phenological mismatch. And fifth, apply practical field listening techniques to identify and appreciate the dawn chorus in any Ozark habitat. Before we can listen intelligently to the dawn chorus, we need to understand why it exists, why birds concentrate their singing in such an intense, energetically costly burst at the very beginning of the day. This question turns out to be more complex than it first appears, and ornithologists have proposed several competing and probably complementary explanations. The first explanation is acoustic. In the hour before and after sunrise, the atmosphere near the ground is unusually calm and cool. Temperature inversions trap sound close to the surface, and wind speed is at its daily minimum. Studies using acoustic recording equipment have shown that song transmits up to 20 times faster at dawn than at midday. For a small bird trying to advertise its territory across a dense forest, this acoustic window is simply too valuable to waste. Singing at dawn is not just beautiful, it's efficient. The second hypothesis centers on mate choice. Many songbirds are actively assessing potential mates in spring, and dawn singing provides females with critical information. A male that is singing vigorously at dawn is demonstrating that he survived the night. No trivial feat, given the nighttime predator pressure of owls and the weather hazards of early spring. A male in full voice at 5 a.m. is advertising robust health, energy reserves, and competitive territory holding ability. For a female choosing a mate whose genes and territory will determine her reproductive success, this dawn performance is an honest signal she cannot afford to ignore. A third explanation is practical. The light at dawn is too dim for effective insect foraging. Rather than sitting idle in the low light period when hunting is unproductive, birds invest that otherwise wasted time in singing. As light increases and foraging becomes viable, singing intensity declines. This explains the sharp drop-off in song intensity that occurs roughly 30 to 60 minutes after sunrise, when most species shift their energy from singing to feeding. The dawn chorus isn't a single explosion of sound, it's a carefully sequenced arrival, with different species beginning to sing at different times relative to sunrise. This species-specific timing is remarkably consistent from day to day, and it's so predictable that researchers have used it as a chronological clock for dating historical ecological records. In the Ozarks, the sequence typically unfolds like this. The first voices emerge roughly 60 to 90 minutes before sunrise. In mid-April, that means around 4:30 to 5 a.m. The American robin is often among the very first, with its liquid, rolling caroling sound almost disorienting in the darkness before any light is visible. Eastern towhees begin shortly after with their distinctive drink your tea song carrying from the forest edge. Ovenbirds and wood thrushes often enter the chorus in full darkness, their voices carrying extraordinary distances through the still pre-dawn air. As light begins to strengthen in the period from about 30 minutes before sunrise to 15 minutes after, the chorus reaches its peak intensity and species diversity. This is the moment when the forest seems genuinely overwhelmed with sound. Indigo buntings are singing from exposed perches on the forest edge. Their rapid up-down paired phrase is unmistakable. Scarlet Tanagers contribute a hoarse, burry version of a robin song from high in the oak canopy. Kentucky warblers sing their rolling churry 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 from dense tangles near the stream. Yellow-breasted cats, one of the most vocally bizarre birds in North America, produce an extraordinary mix of whistles, croaks, cackles, and yelps that sound like an entire aviary in a single bird. Birdsong serves two primary functions simultaneously: advertising territory to competing males of the same species and attracting or maintaining a pair bond with a mate. For most songbirds, it's the same song doing both jobs at once, but the relative importance of each function shifts across the breeding season. Early in the season, when territories are being established and females are evaluating mates, singing is intense and relentless. A male wood thrush in early may sing 60 to 70 complete song phrases per minute at peak dawn, repeating variants from a repertoire of 6 to 10 distinct song types. This repertoire matters. Research has shown that females of several species preferentially pair with males that have larger song repertoires, likely because repertoire size correlates with age and experience. As the season progresses and nests are active, singing often decreases sharply, particularly in the incubation period when advertising loudly near a nest site could attract predators. This is why an Ozark forest in early June can seem remarkably quiet compared to the same forest in early May. The backbone of Ozark's spring dawn chorus is formed by resident species, birds that remain in the region year-round or that arrive from short-distance wintering grounds in the southern United States by mid-March. These are the voices most likely to anchor your listening throughout the season. The wood thrush, Hylocycla mescalina, is, by wide consensus, the finest singer in the Ozark forest and one of the greatest songsters in North America. Its song is a series of complex, flute-like phrases with otherworldly resonance, produced by a specialized two-chambered vocal organ called a syrinx that allows it to sing two simultaneous pitches. John James Audubon described its song as the sweetest music I've ever heard, and even those with no ornithological training stop walking when they first hear it. The wood thrush favors mature forest with a relatively open understory. Typically, the interior of older oak-hickory forest with a sparse midstory and thick leaf litter. In the Ozarks, it's most abundant in the larger forest blocks of the Missouri Ozarks, the Boston Mountains of Arkansas, and the river corridor forests of the Buffalo and Current Rivers. It's an interior forest specialist, and its populations have declined substantially across eastern North America as forest fragmentation has increased the edge to interior ratio of woodland habitat.